Hello and welcome to the Shay Hates Everything podcast, where we talk about video games, movies, comics, and other shit that matters. My name is Shay, and today I hate trying on clothes.
And my name is Kyle, and today I hate Etsy.
What is Etsy related? Are you just trying to buy stuff on Etsy, or why do you hate it?
So, 2 months ago, the wife and I we commissioned a painting, an oil painting, of a photo from our wedding, because it's going to be like the centerpiece of our wall. We sent them the dimensions we wanted it to be. They made like a custom order page. The dimensions were correct on the custom order page, and we get it. We needed 24 inches wide by 40 inches tall. They sent it to us, and it's a beautiful oil painting. It would look lovely on the wall, except that it's 24 inches wide, 30 inches tall. So it doesn't fit the frame we had picked out, and it would no longer be the biggest picture on the wall. So the whole point of it being the only painting on the wall would be it would not be as big of a centerpiece, as big of an eye-catching piece on the wall as opposed to all the other pictures. So paid nearly $300 for this thing. And so I contacted the guy and I was like, "Hey, painting's beautiful, but it's 10 inches too short." Like, even on the order page, it says 40 inches. And I made sure there wasn't some, because the dude's from Ukraine, I made sure there wasn't some weird, centimeters thing. But no, I said inches, and on the page, the order page, it says inches. And so he responded "Oh, yeah, there must have been a mistake on our production side. There's not a lot we can do about it now, because, the piece has been created. Would you be okay with a 30% discount? We give you a 30%, back." Yeah. And thinking about that, I paid for, because the price of the thing goes up based on the size of the painting.
Right.
I paid for a 24 by 40 inch, so if he gives me a 30% discount, then really I'm just paying for a 24 by 30.
Yeah.
And it's that's not actually you giving me some thing. It's I paid for what was done, but it wasn't what I wanted. So I came back, I was like, "Well, how about this? How about you paint it the way you were supposed to? You redo it for 24 by 40, and I will pay the shipping cost." Because he paid the shipping cost last time. So I'll see what he says about that. But that just sucks, because we ordered it 2 months ago. It took a month to create, and it took a month to ship it from the Ukraine.
Yeah. Because it probably was on a boat.
Right. And so, if he were to ship it again, and I were paying for it, I would opt to pay more for the better shipping, so I don't wait another 2 fucking months to put this wall together that the wife and I have been wanting to put together. Anyways. And for Valentine's Day, my wife wanted a crown ring, which is just a ring that looks like a crown. And so she wanted one from this particular collection, and I was like, "Well, what if I got her one that wasn't that cost, but I also liked, and there was a black one that was on Etsy." I was like, "This looks really cool. It's black. None of the other rings in that collection were black." And I feel like this is a neat, because I feel like she already had a favorite one from that collection that she would want. So how about I get her a crown ring, but something she's not expecting from a source she's not expecting. And then if she wants a particular one from that collection, she can always buy it. Instead of if someone gives you a Christmas list or a list of things, it's lazy to just pick exactly one of those things. You try to take that idea and then do something different with it. You know what I mean?
I would say that you are wrong in your assumption of how that should work.
But it just feels lazy to just get them something that is because they already know exactly what they want.
If someone has something on their Christmas list where they're like, "I want this specific thing," don't get them something that is like that specific thing. If someone has something on their list where "Oh, I like this sort of thing," then yes, absolutely, be creative and thoughtful and get them something similar, but maybe not the same. But if she picked out and said, "I want literally this,"
well,
you should probably
she
get
said
her literally
anything
that.
from this collection is what she said.
Okay, but you still
and it was
got something
20
not
rings.
You still got something not in that collection. I'm not saying that won't ever work. I'm not saying that you couldn't find something that would be similar and cool that she would love. But I feel like the reason you're telling this story is because that's not what happened. And I would say that that's your fault.
Well, no, she really liked it, but the black wore off in 2 days, and then
that's not good.
The substance that the ring is made of underneath, she's having a reaction to it on her fingers, so she can't wear it. So happy Valentine's Day.
I feel like your takeaway should probably be, if someone asks for something very specific, get them that thing, or don't, but don't get them something like that. Like if I'm like, hey, I really want Metro Exodus for my birthday, don't buy me Earth Defense Force because it's similar to Metro Exodus.
That's so not the same fucking situation.
How?
You know it.
How is it not the same?
All right, okay, that would all right. So what you're saying is a very specific, they say a very specific thing, and you don't get them that specific thing. What I'm saying is, to use your analogy, someone is like, yeah, I really want a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter, and I know that they have played the first couple of Metro games, and so yeah, they probably want Metro Exodus, but they just asked for a general post-apocalyptic first-person shooter. So I'm like, but maybe they'll really like this other one, because they already know they're gonna like that one, but maybe there's a chance they'll like this other one, so I get them Fallout 4. Well, in this case, I got them Fallout 76.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Just buy them Metro. That's what they want, and you know that's what they want.
That's so fucking lazy.
How is it lazy?
Because
to get someone something they want?
What? To get them something that they explicitly said they wanted for that occasion. It's so fucking lazy.
They said they wanted it because that's what they want.
Right, but they can always fucking get that later.
But that's
because
the point
they already know they want it.
The point of a gift is you are giving them something so that they don't have to get it themselves. If I ask for this specific black t-shirt, don't buy me a green t-shirt and say, well, you can go buy the black one yourself. I didn't want a green t-shirt. I wanted the black one. That's why I told you I want the black one.
All right.
I don't understand how we're still talking about this.
We're still talking about it because all of the analogies you're bringing up are not one-to-one. They're all skewed in your favor.
I understand your point of, she said, I want something in this collection. I get that it's not, I want this specific ring from this collection. But this argument is still the same. She told you, she even did a better job and gave you a category of things that she wanted. And yet you still didn't get her something in that category.
Because they were all really expensive.
So here's the better analogy. I say,
they were more expensive than what I wanted to spend on Valentine's Day.
And that's
at our current level of money.
And that's fine, but to make the analogy better fit you, what she said is, I want a t-shirt from this company, and instead you bought her a pair of jeans.
No. It's like if she said,
instead,
that,
you
here
bought
are a list of
Fallout
funny
76.
shirts. Here are a list of funny shirts that I like, and I'm like, oh, but there's this other really funny shirt that I really like that I think she'll like too. So I'll get her one of those.
But I feel like the key to this, Kyle, is you're saying, but here's something I really liked that I want to buy for you instead. It's not about what you really like. You're not buying her something because you like it.
I liked it because I thought she would like it and wouldn't be expecting it, because it's not one of the things in the collection.
Though. You said I liked it, and so I wanted to get her that.
And so to clarify, I like it because I think it's something that she would like, and it was not something that she would be expecting.
So I get that. You thought that she would like it.
Yes.
But you know what she definitely would have liked is the thing she told you she would have liked.
It's lazy. The easy way out's for suckers. Tell me about trying clothes on.
Kyle being terrible at gift giving aside. We need to move on.
Tell me about trying on clothes.
I just hate trying on clothes because stuff never fits. every company has different fit styles, slim fit versus standard fit, and they're never the same. Mediums and larges are never the same company to company. And I hate finding something I really like and going into the changing room and assuming that it's going to fit, and it doesn't. And it's really frustrating. It's just annoying. I went to Target, not even to buy clothes, but I was like, since I'm here, I like a lot of their clothes, and they're usually cheap. And I got like 4 different things to try on, and only one of them really fit in the way that I wanted it to. Even though they were all like the same thing, only one of them fit. It was frustrating. I didn't like it.
Did it not fit because you're now a member of the FB club?
I mean, yes and
Fat
no.
Boys Club.
I'm not fat, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to get a large slim fit. Because I can't wear medium slim fit like I did in college because I don't weigh 140 pounds anymore. But I also need a large just because my shoulders are too broad to wear mediums, period. So I need to get a large, but I also wanted a slim fit because a large standard fit, like the arms are too big,
right.
It's too baggy, it's too long, which obviously it hurts because I'm short too, so all this doesn't go together. But at a lot of places I can get a large slim fit, or just a large standard still fits fine. But with this, the large slim fit was too snug in the stomach and too short in the shoulders too, which was surprising. But a large standard fit was like I'm wearing a dress. And I really liked the shirt too, and it was annoying. But I got one of them, and it's a short sleeve button down, and it's navy blue, and it has waves on it. Not like people waving, but like cresting waves, and it looks cool. Like,
so you're saying there was something that you really wanted, but then you wound up getting something else, and you wound up really liking it?
No. That's not what I'm
said.
saying. Nope. Not at all. I will give you a B- for effort and a D for execution on that analogy. All right, let's talk about video games. There's so much news, and a lot of it's like exciting, cool news. So we need to make this thing happen because I can't do a 3-hour podcast anymore. I have been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts 3 because I want to be done with Kingdom Hearts 3. But I need to work myself up to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. So instead, how about you tell me about Metro Exodus? Because I am greatly looking forward to playing that after I finish Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay. I guess I should just start by saying that it is my least favorite of the 3 Metro games. That doesn't mean it's a bad game. I just really love the Metro games. Mm-hmm. So the reason it is my least favorite at its core is because it is an open area game. I can't really say open world because it's a series of like sandbox environments that you progress through. But the larger open areas, I think, do the game kind of a disservice. Because what I really love about the Metro games is the tight linear narrative. Like, when you have open world games, just by the nature of like the time it takes you to get between places, the order in which you can experience things, the narrative tends to take a back seat to the gameplay, which while I would actually say the Metro gameplay helps flesh out the narrative in a lot of interesting ways and like sets you in the world, like all the micromanaging you have to do. In this instance, the separation of a lot of the main story beats and what you're doing minute to minute, I think hurts the experience. So it allows for more opportunities at world building, which is a positive. 'Cause I feel like this is the game where I learned the most about the Metro universe. Just because they can pack that open world full of like small little, oh gosh, what's that called? Is it not ambient storytelling? Emergent storytelling. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So they can kind of pack the world full of those little moments, and I think a lot of those are impactful and effective, but they, at the same time, just serve to further disconnect you from like the real reason you're there and are doing what you're doing, and it just kind of pads it out in kind of a negative way. Also, just in general, I mean, for the past like 3 years, I've had open world fatigue like crazy. I've just really been craving like a tight narrative experience, and Metro has always been my like haven for that. And so the fact that this one is not that, I think, was inherently disappointing to me.
Well, and just like more linear shooters are becoming harder and harder to come by.
Right.
Like you still have a game like Doom that comes out and nails it, or the Wolfenstein games, but
for sure.
like Call of Duty didn't have a single player mode. Like
exactly.
Battlefield has gone away from their single player modes and made them more vignettes. Like it's kind of hard to find a narrative driven first person shooter nowadays.
Yeah, and I mean the Metro, they were always so well executed on that it's just I'm excited for the studio that they chose to take on this challenge, and it worked for the most part. It's just a problem with that, an inherent problem with that formula that I don't know what the solution to it is. I don't think anybody really knows what the solution to it is. As I'm about to talk about later, Far Cry sure as hell doesn't know what the solution is. I
feel like, I mean, the solution is to make the main story take a back seat to those emergent moments and have those be the focus. That doesn't like solve the problem of wanting a story focused shooter, but you can't do both. Like I feel like the biggest proof point of that was with Skyrim. Like as huge as that game was and successful as that game was, no one talks about Skyrim because of its main storyline.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I would say that like, because there are a few side quests, but for the most part, like, the quests that you're doing are in service to the main narrative in some way, shape, or form. It just leads to a lot of, hey, I'm exploring this area because I need the stuff.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, like, have little moments or come across, like, areas where you kind of suss out the narrative of what maybe happened there before. And they have a lot of that stuff, which is really well done still. But there isn't a lot. I feel like this, with the amount of things that happen, this is like a normal length Metro game. It's just padded out because it takes you longer to get places.
Right.
And I guess, like, by extension, you then have more opportunities to find loot. Whereas, like, in the first two Metro games, like, the amount of stuff you find is very finite. And you have to really scrounge each area. And so I guess part of that instinct is still with me because I'm playing a Metro game. I want to scour every area, and so it just takes me forever to get anywhere because I feel like I have that compulsion to, like, scavenge. And not just because of Metro, but just because of that's how I play games in general. I always try to find everything, especially if it's kind of like some sort of a survival or resource-intensive game. Yeah, and I found myself, because like in between all the big areas there are like train segments where you're on the train going to the next area, and you're just walking around the train talking to people, and that's where a lot of the character development happens. Not all of it. They do, like, there are main story beats in each larger open area where some of that happens as well, but the majority of it happens in between those locations on the train. And I found myself, like, spending way too much time on the train because I was like, I want more of this, like, in my game. Like, I'm sick of wandering, killing, respawning enemies out in the open world. Like, I want to have these conversations that the first two games always made time for.
Yeah.
And so,
did you play in Russian or English?
English, because
I heard not so great things about the English performances and some of the audio.
That's been true of the whole
bad.
series. Yeah, that's been true of the whole series. The English voice acting is not great. A lot of the performance captures not. Voice capture is not good.
I think I'm going to play in Russian. A lot of people have been recommending playing in Russian with the English subtitles. I think I'm going to go for that.
So because I always replay Metro games, I always play through in English first to make sure I get, like, the main idea of what's going on, and I'm not like relying on the subtitles. But like for a second playthrough and subsequent playthroughs, I always do Russian just because the capture is markedly better. The performances are markedly better. And it just, like, it feels right. So I guess in terms of the narrative, I think the open world kind of does it a disservice. Obviously, I like the gameplay is also kind of core to the Metro series, like a lot of the micromanaging, like the bullet economy was always a really interesting idea, and that's gone in this one.
Huh.
There is no bullet economy because the bullet economy has to do with the Metro. Like that's how they have their currency thing set up. Like but now you're no longer in the Metro. So like you're not shopping for stuff. You're scavenging as you go.
Interesting.
So there isn't like a shop that you visit or anything. You're just kind of like you're picking up parts off of enemies' weapons and then like being able to add them and like swap components on your own weapons and bring them back to the train and all that kind of stuff. So there isn't like a currency, which also kind of detracts from like the every bullet counts. And so now, because like in the old Metro games, like you would almost never hit your like ammo cap. You were almost never there. In this one, like you're there almost all the time.
Interesting.
Because, well, I was at least because
you're scavenging everything.
Because I'm scavenging everything. Yeah.
I will definitely be doing that too. So that's kind of disappointing to hear. That scarcity is one of the things that led to a lot of tension in that game.
Right. And so I think on my subsequent playthrough, like I'll play through on Russian and I'll play on Ranger Hardcore. Because I mean that'll lead to a lot of frustrating deaths and stuff, but it will also, you know, that I think the scarcity is, you know, tantamount to having a core Metro experience, right? Like every bullet counting, and I didn't feel that like at all during this.
And the cool thing in the Ranger mode, which is different than most just like shooter difficulties, is it is the extra hard mode, but it's not just enemies are more bullet spongy. You do more damage, but they do more damage to you, and there are fewer resources. It's like the Last of Us hard mode, where it's not just a difficulty spike. The actual way that you interact with the game changes, and that just makes it more unique and cool, I think.
Right, and like significantly reduced HUD elements as well. Yeah, so I'm excited to jump back in at some point. It'll probably be this summer. I'm gonna wait a while, but I'm excited to go back through on that harder difficulty and in Russian and kind of see how that affects the experience. Because I did just play on normal in English, so that could be part of my problem. I think visually, it looks amazing. I mean, it's one of the best looking games I've ever played.
Where did you play it? Did you play it on PC?
PC, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because I knew, like, the handling in Metro has never been its strong suit. Like, the guns always have a really weighty, sluggish feel intentionally because that's how the combat is paced. And, like, because precision matters so much, I've always preferred playing on PC because, I mean, I'm less likely to miss shots with a mouse and keyboard than I am with a controller. Yeah, I mean the game just looks amazing, and all like the different environments that you go through are all just so vastly changed from the last one. So there is some Metro like down in the sewers and in the tunnels and stuff. There's some of that, but just like the first area you go to, it's like a series of small little islands. So you're using like a boat to go around in. It's very like still like nuclear winter, but like everything is just like waterlogged and soggy and wet, and it just looks so good. And then the next area you go to is this arid, dry, deserty, mountainous area, and it's so different. And just the way you engage, like there's like a weather system that comes through. It just looks phenomenal. And the third area plays a lot more with verticality. It's like dense forests, mountainy area. And like the different enemy factions that inhabit those areas all kind of reflect like what living there must be like.
Yeah, that all sounds way more diverse than the first two games, which was largely like you would occasionally go to the surface and some destroyed buildings with nuclear winter vibe, but it was mostly in the sewers and subway systems.
Yeah,
and that was it.
And so
and the games they still always looked incredible, like the level of detail in the world and how just the art direction was always really phenomenal, but there was never that strong of a variety.
Right, and so like to see them execute on this so well is like really, it makes me happy that they were able to execute on this vision of theirs well. I will say, because in all of the games there's kind of like a morality system, because you can get a good ending or a bad ending. And I did get the good ending. I think it's primarily because, like, so the morality thing is, pardon me, the morality thing's a little more ambiguous here. I think it has to do with how many people you're killing versus, like, trying to circumvent, and, like, there's a new mechanic where, if you kill a certain number, like, if there are 6 dudes and you kill, like, 4 of them, the last 2 might go ahead and surrender to you, and you can choose to kill them or, like, knock them out, or just, like, leave them alone. And I think if you kill them, like, less people are likely to surrender because they're like, oh, this dude has, like, a ruthless reputation. I may as well just fight to my last breath. But if you, like, the more you do that, the more, like, you just knock them out or leave them be, the more people will surrender as well. So firefights are endings are more quickly, and you're not necessarily getting less resources because you can knock them out and still loot all their stuff. But then you're also, like, expending less resources because you're, like, firing less shots. And that's kind of, like, an interesting mechanic. And it leads to, like, a changing combat landscape every time you kind of engage. You never really know. Okay, like, it's never clear. It's never, like, a binary, oh, if I wipe out X percentage of the people, the other dudes will clearly surrender. It's like you hope for that. It's like, okay, if I kill this guy, maybe this other guy will surrender, but maybe there are a couple of guys I don't know about that they know about that are going to come out of hiding if I do it. So just a lot more factors in combat to think about when you're engaging groups of people. But yeah, I don't know. It's my least favorite. It's in no way a bad game. It's still a very good game. I just think, unfortunately, the open world or the open area sandbox does it's more of a hindrance than a help, I should say.
It's not really what you were looking for from a Metro game.
No.
They changed kind of the formula of the game, and it doesn't sound like that necessarily served it all that well.
No. And I mean, I was open to this new experience. I wasn't going into it like, this ain't not your grandpa's Metro, like, or like hashtag not my Metro. I was open to the idea because, you know, I trust the developer, and I think what they did, they executed on very well. It's just, you know, how do you find the balance there? It's kind of anachronistic to what I've come to expect from the series. And that's not to say that there weren't still, like, a lot of effective emotional beats and stuff. There definitely were. They find good ways to funnel you into certain areas without making you feel like you're being funneled there. They do that cleverly a few times, but, you know, for the most part, I kind of miss my sewer tunnels, which is a weird thing to say.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Metro.
I am ready to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Your body's ready?
The good news is listeners will only have to hear me talk about Kingdom Hearts one more time, because I will almost assuredly beat it by next episode.
Okay.
So you only have to hear me bitch about this game one more time after this episode. It just sucks, dude. Like, it sucks. It's a shitty game.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. It is bad, bad, bad. Everything about it is bad. I will say, since last time we talked about it, the combat's definitely clicking a little bit more. Like, I'm getting a little bit more out of it. And a lot of that, I think, is because now that I'm getting more Keyblade options, like the second forms and stuff, are more fun. Like the Toy Box Keyblade has a really good one where, like, it's really the third form, I think, where you have, like, drill arms, which is fun.
Yeah, and that's, like, really effective. Does a lot of damage.
I've been using the Monsters Inc. Keyblade because I'm more spec'd into strength than magic.
Right.
And a lot of times, like, Keyblades will go back and forth. Like, oh, this one's more about strength. This one's more about magic. This one's balanced. This one's more about strength. And blah, blah. It goes back and forth. So I've been primarily using the strength-focused ones because magic is useless in this game.
Right.
But, yeah, the Monsters Inc. world Keyblade, you get these, like, wrench hands that are pretty good as your second form, and then the second form are these, like, yo-yos, which actually kind of suck. I don't really like using that form much, but key to it is
hey,
no pun intended, the combat feels better. I still don't like repetitive it can be with all the special moves and everything. I'm not enjoying, but I've kind of just accepted it for being what it is. And in fact, I'm at the point, because I'm like, I think fairly close to the end of the game. I just got to San Francisco, whatever it is from Big Hero 6, which I think is the last world, like, of its standalone thing, and then however the game ends. So I think I'm pretty close, but yeah, the enemy types are fairly repetitive. Combat's not really challenging in any significant way. I've never died once this whole time. The closest I got was actually in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, which I'll talk about in a minute. Because, boy, just when I thought the game couldn't get worse, I went to the Pirates of the Caribbean world.
I heard something about this.
There is a really annoying thing in the way that the game is structured. So just the story is just shitty. Like, it's complete nonsense and dumb. But the main thing, literally in the beginning of the game, after you get out of the tutorial Coliseum world, the thing you are tasked with is finding the power of waking or awakening or whatever the hell it is. That's what you set out to do. I'm not really sure why you're looking for it, but that's what you need to get, right? And so
what Donald keeps saying.
Yeah. So
the power
every world
of waking.
You go to a world, you do the little self-contained story in that world. Invariably, some dude from Organization 13 shows up and is like all mysterious and says things that make no sense to Sora or to the player. And then you leave the world, and then there's a cutscene in the Gummy Ship where they're like, all right, guys, time to get that power of waking. And then you go to the next world, and there's a standalone story in that world, and someone from Organization 13 comes in at the end and says some weird, mysterious things that make no sense to Sora or to the player, and then you finish that story, and then you go back to the Gummy Ship, and then there's a cutscene in the Gummy Ship where they say, all right, guys, time to go after the power of waking, and then you go to another world, and there's a it's the same thing over and over again, where literally nothing is happening. The story is not progressing at all, because every single time after you leave a world, they're like, all right, guys, power of waking. Let's go. Literally, it has happened 6 times, if not more. It's unbelievable. And all the Organization 13 people are looking for a black box. And so in a lot of the worlds, there is some kind of black box that they're there to look for. And then they're like, oh, this is the black box we want. Yeah, dude. It's like, it is so stupid. This game was made in 1995, before anyone in the video game industry knew how the hell to tell a story or to, like, write anything. It's just so bad. And in between the worlds, like, those cutscenes, they're so long, because when you're in the world, well, it's 2 things, man. Oh, see, I'm getting there.
Yep.
I'm getting all hyped up here. It's 2 things. When you're in the world, there are infinite times where they take control away from you. Like, every fucking room you enter, there's a little mini cutscene. And a lot of those cutscenes are the dudes run into the room, Heartless spawn, and they go like, all right, guys, let's take them down. And then you fight all those people, and you beat them. And you run to the next scene, and it fades to black, and it fades up. And Sora, Donald, and Goofy run into the room, and they're like, what's going on in here? And Heartless spawn. And then he pulls his Keyblade, and he's like, all right, guys, let's take them down. And then you fight them. And then you move to the next room, and it fades to black. Like, you're understanding my point.
It's like a Saturday morning cartoon. This game is like a Saturday morning cartoon where half of the episode is what has already happened, and the other half of the episode is what's about to happen in the next episode.
Man, it's real bad. It's just like, so that's in the worlds. And mostly the stories in the worlds are like fine, but forgettable. Like the Toy Story one, there wasn't really even a story. You could just kind of go to the toy box store, and then at the end they're like, all right, we're going to go wait for Andy. See y'all. Yeah. And then like the Monsters Inc. one, they're like trying to get Boo home. That's the whole story of that. And it's just like, so the stories aren't, the world stories aren't even engaging, much less they're all just window dressing for this larger thing, but they don't connect whatsoever. You're just kind of there and then you leave, and it's made no impact on progressing in the real story. But then once you do leave the worlds, like once you finish a world, then you have to sit through 20 minutes of cutscenes. And I'm not exaggerating. Almost every single time it's 15 to 20 minutes of cutscenes, because you have to check in with the Sora, Donald, Goofy on the gummy ship, where they're like, all right, guys, power of waking, here we go. And then they got to call some dude with long blue hair that looks like the biggest douchebag on the planet, where they're talking about...
they have to FaceTime some dude with a thing that they don't really know how it works.
Right. It's a phone. It's literally a phone. And Sora's like, what does this button do? Because he's the biggest idiot on the planet. And somehow he's the hero of the story. And then you got to check in with Riku and Mickey, who are like doing something, I guess. I don't know. And then you got to check in with Aqua. And she's all like, hey, I'm bummed out because of reasons. And like 20 minutes later, you land on the new world. And then they're like, hey, guys, where's the black box?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's just status quo over and over again.
I can't.
It just resets.
I can't even like describe just how awful and just stupid everything about this is. And even as late as I am in the game, at least 3, 4, 5 times per world, they throw some new mechanic at you. Like a new kind of mini game or a new thing you do just one time. And again, this goes back to what we were talking about. The core well, it's not even the core problem. One of the core problems of this game is just it took so long to develop that they stopped saying no to ideas. And so they just threw everything in the kitchen sink into this game. Every single idea that anyone ever had about Kingdom Hearts 3 is in this game. All the grinding and the R1 where you lock on and auto shoot these dudes, and there you go to the Pooh world, and there's a little mini game. It's like a match 3 mini game that you play a bunch of times, and it's really boring and dumb.
Yeah,
that's
where all that stuff used to be, was in the 100 Acre Wood. All the weird little mini gamey stuff.
Yeah,
and like that was fine because it was all there and it was all optional. You didn't even have to do it. But it was like charming and fun because it was Winnie the Pooh. But now it's like every single world is rife with that garbage.
Yeah. A lot of the worlds feel empty as well. Like the designs of them feel empty. Even the Toy Box world, which was definitely my favorite world, which is even more depressing because it was the first real world. All the ones since then have sucked. But even that one, like you're in this Toy Box store just running down these really long hallways where there's like nothing there.
Right.
And then enemies will occasionally spawn and you fight them in this big open space. Like there are exceptions. There are plenty of places in that world that I liked the design, but like the Monsters Inc. world is so uninspired. It's like a boring factory for 4 hours and every hallway looks the same. It's just like they didn't maximize the potential of that world whatsoever. The look of Corona, the Tangled world, is nice because it's like woods. And so it's, visually appealing, but it's still just like empty and blank. Like it's just it's the same trees and shrubbery designs just placed randomly throughout the space. It's just like, they're just boring worlds. Like they have variety from world to world, absolutely. But in each world, there's so much repetition that it's not, I get so bored in each world before I'm ready to leave it.
Yeah, and like you think about like the first Kingdom Hearts and the mileage they get out of every single little square foot of all of those worlds.
Yeah.
It's like you look at this and it's like, what were you guys like? You built these giant, long, expansive areas. You don't do anything with them.
Yeah. Going back to the new mechanics. So I don't think we talked about the cooking mini games in the last episode. I don't remember. But if we didn't, they're really stupid. It's really stupid.
I hate them.
They're so dumb and bad, and I still don't know how I succeed when I do and why I fail when I do. It makes no sense. They suck. And I haven't eaten a single thing that I've made in there anyway because the game isn't challenging. So
right.
Whatever. The gummy ship. So I had said like, of all the things in this game, it's the thing I hate the least, which I couldn't believe I was saying.
Yeah.
The difficulty, as we talked about, it definitely ramps up in some of the combat scenarios, which are easy to avoid if you want to, but if you get into them, like, I was finding spots when I was a gummy ship level 1 where, like, I couldn't even kill the enemies that I was trying to fight in those. But I now have like a level 4 Highwind where I'm just destroying everything. I have 2 little mini ships, one of which has a ton of health, one of which has a ton of attack power, and I have a special ability that I can launch like every 10 seconds that gives me even more firepower. So I'm just destroying everything now and there's no challenge. But for that middle part of the game, because I wasn't engaging in creating new ships, it did ramp the difficulty in a really weird way, and then it went all away really easily. So good job tuning that. The gummy ship stuff, it's not that fun or interesting. And like, once you go around the world, like that open space the first time, you're not really going to get anything out of continuing to do that except for like more money and more experience, which again isn't meaningful. I have 30,000 money and I have nothing to spend it on because I don't need anything else because the game isn't hard. So like it's useless. Okay, I'm saving the Pirates of the Caribbean for the last thing. So the only other thing I'll say is that by and large, a lot of why I am not enjoying this is because I don't care about the worlds that are in this game. And I get why they have their largest, newest properties, because those are the things they want to promote. But, like, with the exception of Toy Story, I love Monsters, Inc., but that world is uninteresting and the story is basically nothing. But, like, the other worlds are Tangled and Frozen and Pirates of the Caribbean and Big Hero 6, which I've never even seen. Like, I don't give a shit about those worlds versus, like, Tarzan and The Lion King and a lot of, like, classic Aladdin, like these classic Disney worlds that you explore that have that nostalgia to them. None of these worlds have nostalgia to them with the exception of Toy Story, which again is the best one, but it's also the second world you go to out of like 9. So that sucks. Okay. Pirates of the Caribbean. When I thought I couldn't hate the game more, I went to the Caribbean, where the primary activities you are doing are ship-to-ship combat. Like you are captaining a ship, much like Assassin's Creed, only without literally any of the fun in Assassin's Creed, because you can't see shit when you're doing it. You can either be right behind Sora, in which case your entire screen is masked by the masts and the the sails, or you're a behind the ship view where you can't see anything because of the way, and the aiming is very poor. There's no way to like zoom in and aim. It's just the right stick to aim everything. And when you're trying to aim, you're aiming through your sails, so you can't even see the thing you're trying to hit past the sails. The ship isn't slow. Like, you are moving relatively quickly through the space, but it feels slow because the scale is off. Like, the ocean is much larger than it appears as you're moving through it. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, as you're looking at it, the water going past the ship is fast, indicating that you are moving quickly, but you are not moving quickly. It is exceptionally sluggish and takes minutes to get from one end to the other, where there's almost nothing to do. Like, there's an occasional island that you can stop off and, like, collect resources, or, like, very occasionally smoke or fog will appear and a couple of heartless ships will come out that you can kill instantly because they're super easy. And that is just incredibly uninteresting and boring and takes forever if you want to try to explore like I was, because I wanted to see if there was anything like, oh, is there like a hidden boss? Is there a hidden area where I can get this cool shit? And no, there isn't. Also, in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, there is a, like I mentioned, minigame-esque sequence where you are defending your ship from a heartless dragon, and you are riding on the back of like a jet heartless, trying to shoot it down. The biggest problem with this is, in the gummy ship, I changed my controls so that I had reverse X and Y axes. So, like, when you press up on the thumbstick, you go down, and down on the thumbstick, you go up, much like you would in a flight simulator. That's how I like to fly things in video games. Well, you can't adjust that in this sequence, so it was opposite of what I wanted it to be, and therefore I had a really big difficulty moving around, and that boss battle took, I'm sure, 4 times as long as it was supposed to take, because I couldn't get the controls right, because they didn't mesh with how I wanted to play the game.
Right.
And I couldn't change them. So that was bad. And then when you go to fight in the combat, half half of the combat is when you're riding the ship and exploring these little sparse islands. The first half is underwater.
Oh, no.
And we all know how much underwater combat works in video games, right, guys? I can name dozens of classic games with exceptional underwater combat. Oh, there was that one. No, that was bad. Mario. Yeah, Mario sucked. Tomb Raider was really shitty underwater. I'm wrong. Literally every video game with underwater combat, it sucks ass because underwater combat sucks ass. Why would you put underwater combat literally in the first Kingdom Hearts game? What's the biggest thing that people hated in the first Kingdom Hearts game? The Little Mermaid level where you're underwater, fighting underwater the whole time, because it sucks ass. But they put it in here too. And guess what? It sucks ass. Not to mention the Pirates of the Caribbean world, the story is completely nonsensical. I think maybe it's following the story from like the fourth movie, which I haven't seen, but it's like they picked like 6 scenes from the movie and just showed them rather than things. You have a little cutscene where it's like, oh no, we gotta rescue Jack, and then you go and you're playing the game, and then the next cutscene, Sora's like, all right, guys, did we rescue Jack? And they're like, oh, no, dude, like, he's gone. Like, oh, we saved him. We had a dinner party. Like, we celebrated his birthday. And then we went and stormed the castle and, like, defeated the bad guy. And now he's gone again. And Sora's like, wait, what? And so am I. Because, like, I'm like, so 60,000 things happened in between these cutscenes that I was no part of. And so there's no through line of story in this world. It's like a bunch of random cutscenes that don't tie together at all.
I heard there was a collect-a-thon element.
Yeah, you collect 300 white crabs where you're just running around a village breaking boxes.
And I heard you have to do that.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. It was probably the best part of that. No, it sucked too. But the only good thing about it was at least you were on land running around.
Sure.
And there were occasional enemies that you fought there too. But boy howdy, like I said, I was like, there is no way I can dislike this game more. And then the Caribbean happened, and I just don't even know. I just got to the San Francisco, whatever, Big Hero 6 world, which I'm anticipating not getting a ton out of since I'm not familiar with the characters or the story or anything. But at least, like, it looks cool, and it has, like, a lot of bright colors, and it's very video gamey in its UI and whatnot, so at least like it'll look nice, because the Pirates of the Caribbean world just looked like really bad CG movie because like they're trying to make it look realistic,
right?
And they're bad at it because the graphics in this game aren't good. It looks like a high-end PS3 game but in 2019. So yeah, I was curious because I had seen a lot of people being mixed on Kingdom Hearts 3 in like the community of people, like regular players. So I was curious to look at the critical response to the game. Mostly it's getting like 9s and 9.5s. But when you look at reviews and summations of reviews and like the biggest takeaway, it's all about like, oh, it's so cool to have a resolution to Kingdom Hearts. And it's not actually talking about the game. And so I'm like, they just seem odd to me. It has an 84 Metacritic, but Polygon, Waypoint, Eurogamer, and The Verge all have negative reviews on Metacritic, but because they don't score their reviews, it doesn't affect the Metacritic score.
Okay.
So a lot of the outlets that didn't like the game aren't affecting its overall score, which is just another flaw in Metacritic's whole... Like, Metacritic is just so stupid. Like, they arbitrarily weight certain companies more than others, which, like, why? That makes no sense to me.
Right.
So anyway, it's not a 9 out of 10 game. That's where I'm coming from. It sucks ass. It is, even for someone that had somewhat deflated expectations based upon pre-release gameplay that I had seen, and like knowing that the story has completely gone off the rails and having not played any games except for the other 2 core games, even all of that put together, I still went into this going, I have waited 13 years for this game. It is the culmination of everything that has happened in Kingdom Hearts. I still wanted it and expected it to be great. It is one of the most disappointing games I have ever played. That boggles my mind. And it sucks. The situation sucks, and the game sucks. So, now that I've gotten all of this off my chest, hopefully next episode I'm just going to complain about how ridiculous the ending is, because I've heard it is quite ridiculous. I have no idea how it's going to resolve, because nothing is happening in the story. Literally nothing is happening in the story. Even the bad guys, like, get together, and one's like, so what's going on? And the other guy's like, dude, I don't know. Xehanort's not telling us anything. And I'm like, okay, what was the point of that scene? I don't even think Xehanort's been in this game yet. Like, young Xehanort has, and Xemnas has, and all the other people that he controls. But I don't think actual Xehanort has been in the game. You haven't fought any of the Organization 13 members yet. Because they just appear on worlds and then they go away. You don't do anything to them. Oh my god, I can't. Alright, we gotta
I don't think I will play that game anymore.
I don't blame you.
I haven't played it in the past, like, 3 weeks, and I don't think I'm going to pick it back up ever.
I have to see it through. Obviously, I'm close enough to the end now, but even earlier on, I was like, I just have to. I have to see my way through this. I'm not having fun at all. I'm just doing it to finish it. And that's why I'm playing so much of it. Like, it's the only video game I've played in the last 2 weeks. I'm over 30 hours into it. Easily. I think I'm like 35, maybe 40 hours into it. And it's just because I'm trying to get it done. It's not because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to play anything else. I just want to get it done.
Right.
So what else have you been playing? Hopefully something good.
So I mentioned I was playing Far Cry 5.
Yeah.
It makes me really, really mad every time the story happens.
Yeah.
Because the way they do it is like, oh, you get kidnapped, and it forces you to do a thing. Right. And, like, I could be in the middle of doing something that I want to fucking do, and it's like, oh, I got blissed. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, and now I'm in a cutscene that I'm furiously mashing the escape key to skip. That's
one of those things where I'm like, I don't understand how a video game designer could think that that's a good idea. Let's interrupt the fun that our players are having. Even if they think those cutscenes are amazing. And they think that content is amazing. You're still saying what you're doing right now, player, isn't what we're going to allow you to do anymore. In an open world game.
It's a middle finger. Sense. So, I'm also finding that I'm skipping dialogue in the world, like from like quest givers and stuff, because because like they send out planes and helicopters and shit to look for you. So like I could be talking to an NPC like about like, hey, there's a prepper stash nearby, but I have to get through their full train of dialogue before it'll say like, okay, yep, here it is on your map. You can go for it now, and you can hold this button to track it. You have to get through the whole dialogue thing in order for that to trigger. But there's like fucking planes flying and like dudes driving by, and every time someone who could be hostile to that like resistance member comes by, they stop talking and they go into combat mode. And so like I just want to talk to you about where this prepper stash is so I can get more skill points and level up my dude. And like for the 5th time in a row, like a wolf has come down from the mountains and freaked you out, or there's a plane overhead, or there's a convoy driving by. So I just mash the escape button half the game just to like skip their dialogue, and like I hit E to talk, and I'm like, escape, 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 escape. And they're like, oh, hey there, Rook. I was hoping to... Yep, so go ahead and find that stash for me. I'm like, great, thanks. Fucking see you later. And then I'm out, and I go, and I shoot dudes, and it's a great time. Everything around the edges of that suck balls.
So what is it... Did you play Far Cry 3 and or 4?
I played 3. No, I didn't play 3. I played 4.
Okay. Is the gameplay of it any like significantly different or better than in 4?
I wouldn't say significantly different, but it is tighter. It is a little better. I would say on a negative side, the only way Okay, so when I bought Far Cry 5, I bought it on sale, and it was like the Ultimate Edition with all the DLC and stuff. So from the get-go, I have access to these DLC weapons that are all really, really good versions of weapons, or like have unique skins or whatever. So I've just been using those instead of like, I don't know. Like, there aren't a lot of weapons, and the weapons aren't like really good, like any of them. None of them are really good, I would probably say. Like, I don't even like the bow as much as I did in 4. Yeah, I think, like, the flying controls are fine. The driving controls are... It just, like, it doesn't control that well, which is why I wanted to get it on PC, because playing on console was abhorrently bad. And, like, I can at least hit dudes. I can at least nail some headshots pretty easily on PC, which makes it more fun. But yeah, just I'm kind of disappointed in the weapon selection, and just like the way in which you get stuff. Like, it's just you go to like this kiosk that has a green icon, and you can either buy weapons at this one, or vehicles at this one, or flying vehicles, or like water vehicles, and like you just go to these spawn points essentially and like spawn in stuff instead of like finding, because like none of the people have like rare weapons or better weapons. Like, you're not getting them from killing enemies. It's just like you go to a shop and you buy them, and like that's it's much less interesting. Also, I don't really like the whole, and I mean they've had it since I think they had this in 4 as well. I don't know if they had it in 3 because I didn't play 3. But like, you do challenges, and when you complete challenges, you get perk points that you can spend. But there's no like traditional XP leveling. It's all just challenge based. So at a certain point, like, I've found the way I want to play the game and the way I'm good at playing the game. So I'm not going to be unlocking any more challenges, which I guess is like where the prepper stashes come into the equation, because they always have like a few perk skill books that you could pick up that give you perk points. Yeah, it's just really strange. Like the light RPG elements, I think, are bad in this one. The writing is totally terrible. Like, before the game came out, we all thought, oh, this is like a new direction for the franchise, because it's always been like really goofy and off the wall. Like, this seems like it's maybe gonna like try and say something, and then they backpedal on that super hard, but like didn't all the way. Yeah. And so like there are elements of the tone that are like very self-serious, and then you gotta go cut off bull testicles for the testy festy for the testicle festival. And it's just, and like there are characters that are like using like butt muncher and like cock swallower, like
cock knocker. That was always one of my favorites.
Like one, like
in high school,
like that kind of like that kind of language. Like the characters are like, yeah, some son of a bitch cock swargler stole my helicopter. I need you to go get it back from that fucker. And it's like, whoa, edgy, whoa, and it's just bad and lazy.
Super edgy for 2002.
Yeah, and it's just like the writing's bad and the characters are really abrasive. And like I don't feel bad for any of them. I'm just like trying to skip past all the story stuff because I just want to go out and shoot stuff. And I read an article on Game Informer about how Far Cry New Dawn is like they stripped out all of that annoying stuff and they just give you more tools to mess around and have fun.
Yeah. Because that was going to be my question is like, are you interested in playing New Dawn?
Having read that article, yes.
Okay.
If the expectation was, oh, this is more Far Cry 5, hell no.
Right.
Because there are too many annoying elements that pull me out of the experience, and like divert me from where I want to be. The best thing about Far Cry 5 is that after you spend a couple perk points, you can fast travel to any area you've been and select airdrop. So you can airdrop in on any area you've been to. So, like, if there's an area you haven't been to yet, because, like, I don't want to drive around because then I'll run into a convoy or a car full of dudes who will shoot at me, and it's very obnoxious because there's no way to reduce the frequency of that crap happening. So I'll just like airdrop. So I go to like the nearest place I've been, I airdrop in and I wingsuit right on over, I parachute and I drop in the middle of it and I shoot a bunch of dudes and I do the objective. And then instead of walking around, I just airdrop to the next place. And that's how I move around the world. And it's a lot of fun. But then I'll like airdrop over to this area and then, oh, I got blissed and now it's time for a story cutscene. And it's
so
like,
dumb.
Fuck you for making
real
this
dumb.
game this way. So that's Far Cry 5. It's fun to shoot stuff and blow stuff up. All that's good. Speaking of shooting stuff, I know I said I would never play this game, but one of my friends who lives most of the country away from me said he wanted to try this game with me, so I downloaded it, and I did play it with him. And I'm not going to say it's good. I think it's still bad, and it's not what I want out of a video game. But playing it with him was fun, as well as another one of my friends. And that game is Apex Legends, a Battle Royale game. The Titanfall Battle Royale game. It's not the worst thing that's ever been made, but I would never sit down by myself to play it. I'm only having fun because I'm playing it with them. It's just like online multiplayer games. It's, you know, we've covered this ad nauseum. It's not for me. But if we're just like messing around and laughing with our friends, then yeah, sure.
Pretty
It's
much
free.
any game can be fun when you are playing it with friends.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Will you continue to play it with them? Or, like, are they super into it?
I wouldn't say they're super into it, but like the one of them just got a PS4 and it's a free game, so maybe he'll keep playing it. We haven't played in like a week, but I don't know. I have a feeling like it's something that we will all always have on our PS4s because it is free and it was digital, so we'll never get rid of it. So like at any time we could just be like, hey, let's just hop on Apex and mess around.
Right. Okay.
It's fine for that.
Okay, so I have been watching Punisher. I started.
Yes, me too.
So, yeah, how far are you? Because I know you had
think-
watched the first couple episodes in the last podcast.
Yeah, I think Kara and I are now on, like, we just finished episode 8, I think.
Okay, so you're a couple ahead of me. I think I'm on like 6 or 7-ish.
Okay.
It's good. It certainly
It's all right.
It certainly makes a first impression.
Yeah.
The opening sequence is crazy over the top,
Yeah.
and even the first episode has like a huge fight scene that is crazy brutal.
The first episode has an arc.
Yeah. And then it kind of settles down, and I was not feeling that as much. They introduced like a new girl character who Punisher kind of takes, or Frank kind of takes under his wing. I found her to be kind of annoying at first.
Oh, for sure.
Because she's very like sarcastic, and she's a liar, and she's just a teenage girl. She's kind of a piece of shit. But I'm growing, or she's growing on me a lot.
Yeah.
They're doing a really cool thing with their relationship where he's taking on more of like a father figure role, and that's just kind of sweet to see, while also being like really messed up. Like he teaches her how to take a gun out of someone's hands, but it's like a nice
that's the
bonding
episode
moment.
we just watched. So I think we're in the same spot.
The same spot then. Yeah. So that's gotten better. The Jigsaw, the Billy Russo Jigsaw thing.
It's stupid, man.
I'm not really into it.
It's really dumb.
It doesn't really feel like it has a lot of momentum, and it's
No.
clearly like he's kind of like building something with these other army vets.
Yeah.
And that might go somewhere, but his core like struggle and his doctor, like I'm just not really engaged with that.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to. I feel like the case that they're trying to make for Billy Russo is, hey, he doesn't remember doing these things, so is he really still like? Should he still really be punished for things that he doesn't remember doing? Like it's not a part of him anymore, kind of thing. But then
That's
they
a ridiculous argument if that's
right.
What you're
Well, like, but then they kind of like partway backpedal on some of that stuff, and like then it's like, oh, he hasn't really changed though. Like he's still the same. Like he's gonna make the same mistakes, kind of thing.
Right.
And like I don't know if they're trying to make him a sympathetic character or not, because they're not like going all in either way, yes or no.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely trying to do that a little bit, but it isn't really working.
Yeah, it's not effective.
Yeah, so that part of it I'm not like super into. In the overall story, I'm honestly like not following it a ton. Like with the Russians and there's some dude that died and the religious guy, like I'm not really connecting the dots there yet, but the core of it being Frank and the girl, that I really like. All their scenes, I really like those.
Yeah, like definitely it did not start out that way, but it has become
Correct.
that way.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's been good. There's some plot armor stuff that happens where I'm like, I don't know why he made that decision, but it's gonna be fine anyway because he's the main character. There's some of those, but that's kind of par for the course. To jump ahead to a news story, they canceled this show just as everyone expected them to. Punisher's canceled, and they went ahead and canceled Jessica Jones as well. Season 3 will still air, but there's no release date. But yeah, that's kind of a bummer. So I'm hoping that there's a satisfying conclusion versus it feeling open-ended, because that would be a really big bummer. Aside from Daredevil, Punisher is the only Marvel Netflix show that I like.
Same.
So hopefully it ends in an okay way and we get some resolution to it. A lot of other stuff that I've been watching is similar. So still watching some Arrested Development, still watching some Kitchen Nightmares, still watching some of The Office. I think we're done with The Office. We got to the Jim Pam wedding, and that was the last thing we watched, and I think we're going to move on and do a different show. I think that's because even though some episodes, because that's where Charles comes in, is before that, where he just sucks all the funny out of the room. And a lot of the storylines are them arguing about whether that actress, whether or not some actress is hot or not, and just a lot of just stories that are just real dumb and not funny. So it shows on its downward trend, and after the Jim Pam wedding, it only gets that much worse. So I think we're gonna pretend like that was the final episode.
There you go.
And it rides off into the sunset.
Just like what you do with Scrubs.
Yeah, kind of. But at least Scrubs, the actual finale, was really good. It was worth suffering through some of those last things because the finale was good. The finale of The Office, the Dwight wedding thing was nice, but Steve Carell coming back, his whole thing with Holly, his send off, and their kind of court, that was nice, but it's not worth it with all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
we're in season 5, I think, at the end of season 5, or no, maybe season 6. I don't remember, but there's still 3.5 seasons left.
Yikes.
That's too much to want to watch. And then we watched another couple episodes of the Titan Games. The only thing I'll mention on the Titan Games is there was a sequence in one of the episodes where The Rock led the audience in a chant of "Sexiest man alive" in reference to himself. And that's about all I need to say about the Titan Games. Yeah. And then we watched Toy Story for Valentine's Day.
Nice.
Because I had just beaten the Toy Story World and Kingdom Hearts, and I was kind of in the mood, and we wanted to watch a movie for Valentine's Day, but not a romantic. We just want to watch a good movie. So we watched Toy Story. Holds up. CG is certainly not as impressive as it once was, but knowing that they made this in 1995, it's still pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah.
The color and animation of everything. But yeah, the humor still holds up. The characters and the voice acting is still absolutely phenomenal. Certainly one of, if not the best Pixar movie. So it's a good one. And then the last thing was we watched the Fire Festival documentary on Netflix. So are you familiar with the Fire Festival?
No.
Okay. It was a pretty big thing a year or so ago where there was this big new concert that was supposed to be Woodstock and Burning Man
the
and
Off-Book people,
Coachella.
In the Off-Book, the improvised musical podcast, they mention this straight fire is what they call it, and they reference this thing. It's part of one of their improvised plot lines. It's very funny. So that's all I know about it is their straight fire, version of this story. I don't know the real story.
Yeah, I mean, and not to dive into too much of the detail of it, but it basically started as Ja Rule and this rich white dude who was a young quote-unquote entrepreneur, but he isn't actually an entrepreneur. He's literally just a con man. They put together this application that would allow you to book high-end talent for like events and stuff, but like you can do it in a phone app, which just seems like a dumb idea in the first place. But to promote this app, they wanted to hold a concert with a lot of that talent. And it became this huge thing where there were tickets they were selling for $250,000.
Whoa.
Because it was like a private island with a cruise ship, and you could have your own yacht and like these beach houses that you could rent for the couple of days. And like Blink-182 was going to be there. Some other like big artists were going to be there. The whole thing was like, hey, young, attractive, rich people, come to this thing. That was their target market, were young, rich people and like social media influencers. And it became huge because they paid celebrities to post about it all at the same time. Like, I think it was Kylie Jenner maybe got paid like 200 grand to post about it on Instagram.
Wow.
And like, there are people in the events industry heard about this, and they were like, there's no way these guys know what they're doing. Like, they've never done this before. This thing is going to be a huge failure. It's an interesting idea, but they clearly can't do it. And then within like a week, it sold out all of its tickets. And so all these events people were like, oh, maybe these guys do know what's going on. Like, I kind of want to get involved and see how this thing goes. But the reason they sold all their tickets is because they paid tens of millions of dollars to market this. They paid more to market it than they would make on ticket sales.
Oh, wow.
Like, you can do that with anything. If I'm trying to sell a new book for $10 and I have 100 copies, but I spend $800,000 promoting it and I sell out all of my copies, guess what? I still lost money.
Right.
Like, selling all of my copies isn't an accomplishment. So anyway, the whole documentary is all about the behind the scenes, and the whole thing was a giant failure. I wouldn't be surprised, Kyle, if you've seen the meme and just didn't know the context of, there was a because like literally these are millionaire rich kids that by and large just have rich parents. It's not that they have done it themselves. They're spoiled rich white kids. But like, they went to this island and the houses didn't exist. Instead, they were asked to sleep in tents that had been used as hurricane refugee tents the previous year. It had rained the day before, so everything was soaking wet. They had no food. Like, the food that they got was like a piece of wheat bread with a slice of Kraft cheese on it and like 6 pieces of lettuce. And there was a famous picture of like, hey, I paid $20,000 to be here. All of the bands canceled. This is my executive chef dinner. I don't have a bed to sleep on. Like, yes. So it was a bunch of rich... And that's why the failure of this went viral. Because it was a bunch of rich white kids that were stranded on a desert island. Like Lord of the Flies style. So
that's
people
amazing.
Like obviously made fun of it. I don't feel sorry for these people other than they were dumb enough to get taken advantage of. Because every step of the way, it should have been obvious that this was not going to come together. But anyway, it's a fascinating documentary just to see how the whole thing plays out. And literally the dude behind this is a sociopath. Literally, he is a sociopath. It's unbelievable how he is able to manipulate people. And he is now in prison for 6 years because he defrauded investors and lied about like, oh, this person gave me $6 million and he had it in writing and that never happened and that kind of stuff. So he's in prison, as he should be. Ja Rule is not in prison, and he also should be. So anyway, good documentary.
So, like, what was this guy's end game?
Make money.
But if he spent more on marketing than he could have gotten in tickets, then how?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not saying he knew how to make money. I'm just saying that was his goal.
The goal. Gotcha. Wow.
And he was rich because he had a previous company where he like created a new credit card for rich people that was like super exclusive and you can get these discounts on tickets, and it was a scam. And so he made millions of dollars and just didn't get caught. And then he did this and got caught, and then he got out on bail, and then he did a new company where he was selling these exclusive tickets and like he had his like email list from Fire Festival that he was using to email for his new scam company while he was out on bail. And then he got caught again, obviously, and that's why he's in prison. Fucking moron, obviously. So anyway, Fire Festival. I think there's another Fire Festival documentary on Hulu, which I also want to check out. But we watched this one on Netflix, and it was quite good.
Dang, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. There's a sequence. Oh man, there's this dude had like a mentor guy who's older. He's like in his 50s, and he's super gay. He talks about being gay. It for the sake of the story, it matters that he is gay. I'm not just like, yeah, he's a gay guy. But anyway. So this mentor, this kid's mentor, who he's like one of the only people that believes in him, and I think is probably in love with this kid, which makes it that much more fucked up. But there was a sequence where they were trying to import like 3 boatloads of Evian water for all these rich kids. And they couldn't get it through customs because they didn't plan ahead because they were fucking morons. And so I guess the head of customs was like, you need to pay me $1.7 million to release this. And they were out of money and therefore wouldn't be able to get water, which really they're going to go to jail if they can't give water to the people who are on the island. And so the guy asks this gay mentor who was in love with him and says, hey, I need you to take one for the team. And my assumption as a viewer was he's asking him to pay the $1.7 million, which is a very large ask. But that isn't what he want. That isn't what take one for the team meant. Instead, what he meant was, I need you to go to the customs office and suck this guy's dick. If you go to the customs office and suck this guy's dick, he'll release the water to us. And the dude was gonna do it. He's like, he tells the story in the documentary, and he like went home and used mouthwash and took a shower and like got himself mentally prepared and drove to the customs office. And in his, I think it's a good direct quote, drove to the customs office fully prepared to suck dick. He didn't have to, because the guy was like, hey, I'll release this, just give me the money after, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that's how much of a monster this guy was. That, like, one of the only people in the world that believes in him, he said, I need you to go suck someone's dick so that I don't fail. Hashtag Fire Festival.
Straight fire.
Share it on social media. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's like one of the first off-book episodes.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's good. I need to listen to that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's a crazy story, dude. So, like, at every point, you're like, how is this happening? And yet, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. It's bonkers.
Man.
So, yeah. What else you got?
Oh, boy. So, my wife started watching Yu-Gi-Oh! On Netflix.
Okay. Is there a new...
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Is there a new series or like the original
Yu-Gi-Oh?
One? Mm-hmm. You used to like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, no, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is great. The whole reason that show existed was to sell cards.
Right.
Which
just
apparently that still works because my wife bought Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards.
Nice. Collector's item. She gonna be a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Player?
So
I got building her deck.
So I got a text the other day, and it was, "Hey, would you be mad if I bought some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards?" To which I responded, "Yes, I would be mad if you bought Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, because why would you buy those? Like, we just spent a lot of money not that long ago on Amiibo cards that we're not using. I have a huge collection of Magic the Gathering cards that I don't use. Why would you buy Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards? This is a bad idea. We've had many conversations the past few weeks about money. Why would you go spend money on Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards right now after having had those conversations?" To which I found out she asked me after she ordered them.
Classic. Classic marriage conversation.
Yup. Hey, would
babe,
you be
will
mad
you be mad if I do
did
this thing that I already did?
Yes, well, I did it. Guess you're going to be mad. So, it was $20, and she's getting...
that's not...
No, it was only $20, and she's getting 300 cards. It was like an eBay lot of cards.
I mean, that's still not a great investment.
No,
but $20
it's
is not this. It's not the same as what you guys spend on amiibo cards. I thought you were talking
Correct.
hundreds of dollars here.
No.
And then that's a problem. $20, like that's. Yeah.
It's forgivable, but not forgettable.
Right. That's the right attitude to have in marriage. I'll forgive you, but I won't ever forget this.
I won't ever forget. So there's that. And she keeps trying to get me to watch Yu-Gi-Oh with her. But like I've seen the show a lot. So it's like it's a show that needs to be on in the background for me. Like I need to be doing something else.
Right.
She always wants to watch it in the living room, and it's like it would be on the TV, so I don't have like things to do there because I want to play Far Cry on my PC. So she's like, "Hey, come be with your wife in the living room," and I say no. I'm gonna be in the office.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that being with your wife. Like that's like, hey, come do a thing you don't want to do that I want to do. Like that's not being together.
Is it okay if I play this back to her later?
Well, it's recorded on the internet. I'm not editing. I'm too lazy to edit this out. So do what you need to do.
Yeah, but that's all I got. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. We got a lot of news.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a lot of the Metro talk is good. I want to hear about that game, but I'll take a lot of the blame for ranting for 30 minutes about Kingdom Hearts 3
Like,
again.
it sucks, dude.
It sucks. It
sucks.
sucks so much. And part of the reason I get so mad about it is that people are saying that it's good. And I'm like, literally, I don't know how you think this is good. It's like with Red Dead 2. If you want to say that the story and the characters and everything overcomes the bad gameplay mechanics, totally fine. Completely subjective, that's fine. But if you're going to say that the gameplay in Red Dead 2 is good, you're an idiot. You are an idiot, or you're lying to yourself.
It's
if
like
you are
Nazi Germany all over again, man. They will justify to the ends of the earth, like the safe option, and the safe option is to trick yourself into believing that 3 is good, because the alternative is living with this madness.
Yes.
It's Eugene Ionesco's Rhinoceros all over again. I will not be a rhino. I will not be a Nazi, and I will not say that Kingdom Hearts 3 is good.
Preach. I need to figure out a way to turn that into an episode title. I will not be a Nazi. I will not say Kingdom Hearts 3 is good. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit. How about Kingdom Hearts 3 is for Nazis? How is that? I'll workshop it a little bit. I'll find the answer. Maybe Nazis isn't the best thing to put in a title for a podcast, but we'll see. We'll see. We're pushing the boundaries on the Shades Everything podcast.
That's what we do.
News. There's so much news. We're going to speed through a little bit of this just because, again, I don't want this to be a 3.5 hour episode. But Nintendo had a Direct. I think it was very clearly coming from a position of people are afraid that we're not releasing games. Our shareholders have been nervous about us not releasing games. So they announced a lot of games. Super Mario Maker 2 is happening. It's coming out on Switch in June of this year, which is pretty neato. It looks pretty similar to the first game. I mean, I didn't play it because I didn't have a Wii U, but like it's just kind of like additive elements. So there's a what's it from? A 3D World skin with Cat Mario and everything that wasn't in the first one. There's new enemy types. You can make what's it called? Not just steps, but like
slopes.
Slopes. Thank you. That's the word.
Yeah.
You can make slopes now. Scrolling levels. Some new UI. I'm interested to see how they work it out with the like actual placement because the handheld Switch is still different than on the Wii U. So
there is still a touchscreen, so potentially that could still work. But then
I
like
would certainly think
they need a good solution for when it's in docked mode.
Right. Which doesn't seem to be the ideal way to do that anyway.
Right.
So maybe they just encourage people to play it undocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks neat. I'll certainly play it. I will probably experiment with making levels, but that's not really my thing. Like going back to like Little Big Planet days, like that's not what I wanted. I wanted to play other people's creations. And just hearing about all the insane things from the first Super Mario Maker, like I'm super pumped to play through this as well.
Yeah, I really hope that they're able to take the library of levels from the first Super Mario Maker and make them available out of the gate. Because, like, otherwise there might not be that much on launch. Like, for the first Super Mario, or the first Mario Maker, they had, like, developer-created levels.
Right.
Like, levels that, like, the developers had made that you could go ahead and play. And then it wasn't too long before some levels started filtering in and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the really crazy stuff started happening. But I guess it probably wouldn't take that long for people to start putting out crazy stuff, since the people who are going to do that have already made stuff in the first one, so they're familiar with the systems. Yeah, so I guess maybe they don't have to do that. I don't know. I guess my biggest hope is that there's a better way to like follow creators, to share levels. I hope all that stuff is much better. Like instead of having like a 13-digit level code, I hope there's a better way of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo has made a lot of strides with their online infrastructure, but they're not where they need to be. I wouldn't
say a lot.
But they have
strides.
They've made a lot of strides. That just shows how bad it used to be.
Well, yeah.
That's my point. Like friend codes and shit. Like it's just the dumbest stuff.
They still have those.
I know. So that's my point. Is yes, I also hope they do better, but I'm not convinced they will. But yes, I hope they do better. They announced a Link's Awakening remake, which looks amazing. It looks like Link Between Worlds on 3DS kind of style, but like cutesy. Like very chibi style, which I can super get into.
Yeah, it looks like they threw that lighting engine from Octopath Traveler onto it too.
Yeah, a little bit. It has a little bit of that like
shaders mod.
Yes, shaders mod
lighting.
from Minecraft, the realistic shaders mod, definitely. It's supposed to be coming out in 2019, so that could be awesome. In the fall, certainly would sound good, or even like late summer. They've announced a lot of games that are coming out in the summer, which is interesting because summer slump is usually a thing. Tetris 99, which is already available, came out the day that they announced it. It is a battle royale, but with Tetris. I've heard really good things about it. I'm not a huge Tetris aficionado or a battle royale aficionado, just like competitive multiplayer in general. So I'm not really sure I'm going to get into this. It is free, quotes, air quotes, with their Nintendo Online subscription, which I don't have because I don't have a reason to have it.
Right.
I guess I should say when it comes to things like Super Mario Maker, you probably will have to have their online subscription. Or
that's going to be the thing that gets me to buy it. So
yeah.
Well, like what we can do is we could probably have like a family plan.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you and I could probably share that.
Yeah. There is a new game from Square Enix called Oninaki, which is an action RPG behind the developers of Lost Sphere and I Am Setsuna, which were both kind of like, not mediocre might be overly harsh, but like they weren't all that popular, like old school JRPGs on Nintendo systems. So I'm kind of like, about this announcement. Both of those games seemed interesting to me, but just given the reception of them, I'm not like gonna take a lot of time to dive into them necessarily. But that again is also coming out this summer, so curious to see more of it. The trailer they put out was just a story trailer, didn't really have much gameplay to it, so I'd want to see a little bit more of that. But the positive is it's not a turn-based RPG, it's more of an action RPG. So if that combat system is good, this could be much better received.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that should come out in the summer, too.
Yeah, it's a smaller kind of, not forgettable experience, but like, it's like an Octopath Traveler, where it's just like, yeah, it's just a classic, old-school game. Yeah. New game from Platinum Games called Astral Chain, which looks anime AF.
Yes.
It is future Japan cops fighting mechs and monsters, and there's a robo-dog, and chains, and swords, and guns. It looks insane.
I just love how coy Nintendo is with everything. Like, at the end of the trailer, you may have noticed it looked like there were two people fighting. More about that later. It's like, yes, I have eyes to see, Nintendo. Right. I got it.
It's being directed by the director of Nier Automata gameplay and combat lead, which was a good part of that game. I didn't love Nier Automata, but Automata, however you want to pronounce it. But the combat of it was interesting. So the combat looks interesting, but this style of game is just not my vibe whatsoever.
Right.
Comes out on August 30th. I know because it's Platinum Games, a lot of people are pretty hyped about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of their games. So you already kind of know if you like that or not.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then they announced a bunch of other stuff, which we'll hit in a little more rapid fashion. So Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is coming out in the summer. Captain Marvel is in it. There are new synergy attacks with multiple characters, much like in the old school games. You could do these like combo attacks. They have new versions of those in this game. Demon X Machina is coming out this summer as well. There is a demo available right now on the eShop, which I need to remind myself to check out because I'm curious. Dragon Quest Builders 2 comes out on July 12th. Yet another game releasing in the summer.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Three Houses, new Fire Emblem game, because there's always a new Fire Emblem game. It's coming out on July 26th. Yet another game releasing in the summer.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, not the remake, but I think it's the PC version is coming out on Switch on March 26th. Final Fantasy IX, the PC version of that, is available right now. And then I think they mentioned, a Chocobo game or
Chocobo Mystery Dungeon.
Mystery Dungeon, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's coming out as well. I don't know that they put a release date on that, but it's coming out as well. So all these Final Fantasy ports are putting out. No Final Fantasy 13, unfortunately. I'm one of the rare defenders of Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, I don't know that you'll see a remaster of that, but
not Final Fantasy 13 2, not Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns, only the first game. I like the first game. That's it. There are a lot of third-party ports coming to Switch, which there may be even more third-party ports coming to Switch, what we'll talk about later on in the news section. But Dead by Daylight is coming out in the fall. It has all the DLC. Unravel 2 comes out on March 22nd. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is coming out in the spring.
There's also Assassin's Creed during that direct as well. And
okay, I missed that.
That looked rough.
Which Assassin's Creed was it? The first game?
No, it was Assassin's Creed 3.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it looked like the frame rate was like sub 30.
That's not good.
It was bad.
And then they are bringing a co-op mode to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I should say they did bring a co-op mode. You can play that now. And there's more DLC coming out on March 14th with new challenges and new courses.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like Treasure Tracker. Captain Toad's my man.
I think I have Treasure Tracker. Did I get that for Christmas? Or maybe I bought it earlier? I don't recall. But I did want it because I was like, eventually I'll play this.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Good fun.
So, yeah, it's interesting because of all these announcements, the vast majority of them are coming out in the summer. And none of the release dates given were for the fall.
And they still didn't say anything about Animal Crossing.
True. But they have said that it's coming out this year. So that could be a fall release, and maybe they'll just show it at E3 or something.
I don't want it in the fall. Want it in the summer when I'll
That's
have
a really
time.
good summer game, too. Yeah, that's a good summer game. So that was everything from the Direct, but in Nintendo news as well, Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring as president of Nintendo North America. It is crazy. He's been in that role
nuts, man.
for 13 years.
His body is ready to retire.
Yeah. Always seemed like a good dude, clearly cared about video games, had a fun personality, seemed like he meshed really well with the Japanese executives on the team.
Yeah.
And he is being replaced by newly hired Doug Bowser, who was initially hired before the Switch launch to run sales and marketing.
I feel like he was mostly hired for his last name.
But the key of it is he ran the sales and marketing for the Switch launch.
Right.
Which was very successful, obviously.
So he clearly knows what he's doing.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to have the same kind of like kooky personality that Reggie Fils-Aimé had, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And his name's Bowser. And I made a joke on Twitter that 2020 should be year of the Bowser. Because they had like year of Luigi, year of Yoshi, blah, blah, blah. They need to have year of Bowser. Because it's a good joke. Because his name's Bowser.
Follow you on Twitter at...
No, I don't mean my joke was good. I just mean having a year of Bowser would be a good joke with the new president. But my joke was also good. At Shay_Castle on Twitter. Thanks. Okay. So we have some rumor mill stuff, but a lot of these have been corroborated by multiple sources, so it seems like these could be legit. These are Microsoft focused. Apparently they're unveiling their new console at E3, which people have been guessing at for a while. They sort of announced it, or at least they said that they're working on the next console at last E3, but the rumor is that they're going to fully unveil it this year, which especially would make sense because Sony's not going to be there, so this kind of gives them the light, the spotlight.
Yeah.
The rumor is that they will be announcing it with two versions. There will be a digital-only version of the next console that will be kind of an entry-level price, and then there will be an Xbox One X premium priced, which will be the actual console. Which tells me, I mean, if true, that means their regular console will be premium priced, not like the $400 or $300 the way that it was last time, but maybe $450 or $500 as their normal console, which is scary. The way that it sounds like, if true, they would get around this is by having that entry-level one where it's digital only for maybe like $250 or something much cheaper that will be less powerful, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what I would think the majority of their hardcore fan base would want. So it will be very interesting to see this. The rumor says that the launch will be in fall of 2020, which makes sense from a timeline perspective. They will be putting out a discless Xbox One this fall as kind of a precursor to this digital-only version of their console, as a cheaper way of getting people in their ecosystem, and especially as for people like me or you, or I guess you have an Xbox One already, but for people like me as a second console, or in my case, a third console.
Well, like a late adopter.
Yes, a late adopter who already has a different console. It makes a lot more sense to have a cheaper version.
Especially knowing that the next console's on the horizon. So it's like, okay, so if this generation is kind of waning, then now is a good time to get in cheap, and I can play the existing library of things that I've been waiting to play.
The 3 games that are good on Xbox One.
Right.
And so, as part of this rumor, the Halo Infinite that they revealed last year would be a launch title. It would be a kind of RPG light, like with some RPG mechanics, some player choice, blah, 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 story
But also
stuff.
the thing to note is that Microsoft has been increasingly supporting the PC end of their gaming library. So if this is a launch title for the next console, I'll still probably be able to get it on PC as
fair.
So I personally, I'm not that I'm not dreading this big drop of money on a new console, because most things that are going to be on Microsoft and not Sony are going to be first party and therefore available on PC.
Well, and we'll get to another reason in a minute. But the only other thing to mention here is, as part of this rumor, they're also saying Ninja Theory's first Microsoft exclusive game after their acquisition would be a launch window game for this as well.
Yeah.
But to your point about playing Xbox games on PC and not needing a console, another rumor, which was led into by their announcing of Nintendo and Microsoft partnering together, was that Xbox Game Pass and a lot of Xbox games will be able to be played on Switch starting as early as this year. So the rumor specifically lists Ori and the Blind Forest as being one of the inherent games that are available on multiple consoles. Well, specifically Xbox and Switch, not PlayStation, but also that Microsoft will use their Project X Cloud streaming service to allow Game Pass to work on Switch. So you'd be able to play all these games. You'd be able to stream Xbox games digitally. You wouldn't be able to download them because they're not made for that. These aren't ports. You'd be streaming them. So hard to say what the quality might be like. I know with Gaikai, the PlayStation Now streaming network, it really depends on what game it is, how well that works. Kind of hardcore first-person shooters don't usually stream very well, but something a little more strategic works fine because that milliseconds of input lag don't matter. But for a game like Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a really tight platformer, doesn't seem like the ideal game for that kind of thing. So we'll just have to wait and see, assuming it's even real. But they're saying this could come out as early as this year, which, again, that would be another huge bomb to drop at E3 in a position where Sony wouldn't be able to respond because they don't have their own press conference or anything. So that's a big deal. Google is looking to enter the world of video games. This has been rumored for quite a while. They unveiled plans for an event on March 19th, which is the beginning of GDC, the Game Developers Conference that's held every year. Very few details on the invite other than all will be revealed at sort of thing. But everybody's saying this is going to be about video games. It's either going to be a new console or more likely some sort of digital gaming streaming service, which would be quite interesting. Phil Harrison, who used to be an executive at Microsoft and at Sony, left in 2018 to join Google to work on an unannounced project. That's probably this. So I'm I'm really curious to see what this is going to be.
Yeah.
And how it's going to work. Like, are they just going to sell a controller and you play it on your PC? Like, how is this? I'm really interested.
Because, I mean, Google kind of has their fingers and toes in everything at this point.
I mean, they have their Android platform in their phones and stuff, but those haven't been a dedicated gaming thing. So, I don't know. The future of this could be quite interesting because, like, excuse me, Microsoft tried last time around to make it like it's your all-in-one entertainment platform. It's not just games, but it's also you can get your TV subscription and everything, and that didn't work. But it might have just been because people weren't ready for that yet. With this new, like, the next consoles could be that. And Sony has been making moves with their streaming service and their patents, backwards compatibility, where, like, that could be their plan. Like, they've had Sony Music for a while. It's been relatively successful on their platform. Like, they have their own PlayStation View, their TV service. Like, they could bundle that all and make it that's their platform. You know, it's all of your entertainment. It's games and movies and TV and music, all of it into one thing. Could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have some video game roadmaps. So Anthem has released. You'll notice we didn't talk about Anthem in our video games because I did not buy Anthem.
I have it.
Yes, you have it.
I'm playing Far Cry 5 right now, though.
I said that if you end up playing it and enjoying it, you might be able to convince me to get it. But
which
judging
means
from the
you're
response,
not going to get it.
Yeah, because you're not going to like it. Because it's not going to be good. But my thing is, like, I'm having a kid, so I need to be more fiscally responsible for one. But I also need to be more sensitive to, like, how much time I have in my life moving forward. And so I can't afford, literally and figuratively, to take a chance on a game like Anthem anymore. Like, look at Fallout 76. Like, I was like, you know what? This looks like it's going to be bad, but I'm just going to go for it anyway. And it wasn't worth it. So I can't do that anymore, which is why I did not buy Anthem. But BioWare put out kind of their initial roadmap for Anthem in the first third of 2019. It's a 90-day plan. They have new events coming in February. Events, missions, and cosmetics in March. Way more events in April, and then a new progression system, and like they're launching guilds in April, and then in May they have a big expansion called Cataclysm that'll have events and missions, and then obviously like ongoing bug fixes and new challenges, etc., dailies, weeklies, monthlies. So this seems to me like, I mean, given the game just launched a week ago, this is them getting out and being like, the reception has not been good. I'm not sure if sales have been good. My anticipation is they haven't been as good as they would expect.
Right.
Because of the quality and the reception. But this is them like, we're going to support this game still. That's what seems like the message of this is.
Yeah.
Which is good. They shouldn't abandon it. But we'll see if it'll be enough to keep players around and or bring in new players. My assumption is probably not.
Probably not.
Bethesda put out their more official roadmap for Fallout 76. They've kind of talked in loose terms about their plans for 2019, but they announced their 3 releases. In spring is Wild Appalachia, which has 2 new quest lines, a new PvP mode, like a survival game mode, I should say, for PvP, new decorations for your camp, as well as brewing and distilling, which could be fun and cute.
Yeah.
In the summer is Nuclear Winter, which seems weird to release Nuclear Winter in the summer, but that's just me. There's a new game mode called Nuclear Winter, where they haven't really detailed that yet, but who knows? That could be potentially cool if it really changes the game in significant ways. New raids for Vault 94 and 96, and a new prestige system for like high-level players to kind of show off all the cool shit that they have.
Yeah.
And then in the fall is Wastelanders, which is a new quest line and new events, and then new factions as well. So similarly, it's them coming out and saying, hey, we have a long-term plan to support this game for the rest of the year. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think I'd like to jump back into it when Wild Appalachia drops, just to see where it's at by that time. Because, like, reportedly, the game runs a lot better now, and, like, a lot of the technical stuff a lot of those hiccups have been solved, because it's been getting like frequent quality of life updates. So
yeah. The core of it for me is still, I want to play it as a single player game, and it's not meant as a single player game. It's not really meant as either one, is part of the problem. Like, it doesn't have NPCs, doesn't have strong quest lines, it's a bunch of audio diaries and notes, and like, if you're playing with multiple people, are you really going to sit there and read a note? Like, I don't, yeah. Not to go back into Fallout 76, I just don't understand. It feels like they were mixed on who they were making this game for. And I'm not convinced that this new stuff is going to fix my core problems with the game. Ubisoft, as part of their earnings call, has said that they have 3 to 4 AAA games launching this fiscal year. So between April 2019 and March of 2020. 3 to 4 AAA games. Really curious to see what those are going to be, because The Division 2 is not included in that because it's launching before this fiscal year ends. Far Cry New Dawn just came out, so you can't imagine there's going to be another Far Cry. They've already announced that there's going to be no Assassin's Creed in 2019, which I guess theoretically they could release an Assassin's Creed in early 2020 and still be part of this, but I doubt that's what they're going to do.
Right.
Skull and Bones is coming out in that time frame, so that's one of those games. But then, like, if you look at the other games that they have announced, like Beyond Good and Evil 2, do we really think that game's going to be ready in this time? So, like, what are the other games that they could do? I have, like, a quick list. Like, there's probably going to be a Just Dance, but, like, do they consider that one of their AAA games? I'm not so sure. They could do a new Watch Dogs. That probably makes sense given timing perspective. There's been a really long rumored Splinter Cell game that everybody thought they would announce at E3.
Please.
So that's high potential. They could put out The Crew 3, but The Crew 2 wasn't really well responded to, and I think came out this last year, so that might be too early for that as well.
Yeah.
They could do a Rayman game, but, like, would that be a AAA release? I'm not so sure. So, like, the numbers just don't add up to me, because it's like, if there are 3 to 4 games, there's Skull and Bones, Splinter Cell, Watch Dogs, I guess that's 3, but, like, I don't know. I'm just not seeing how that necessarily adds up to 3 to 4 in the next year with a bunch of games they haven't announced.
It's got to be Splinter Cell, man. Come on.
I think so. I think Splinter Cell and Watch Dogs will be the other 2. I could see one of them coming out in the fall and one of them coming out in the spring. I could definitely see that happening. So yeah, could be interesting E3 from Ubisoft. Square Enix is also anticipating a major release this fiscal year. They specifically said to pay attention in the days and weeks leading up to E3 and at E3 for this announcement. So it could be a brand new thing that they haven't talked about. It could also be the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not holding my breath. It could be this Avengers project that they announced and haven't said literally anything about that Crystal Dynamics has been working on. Or it could be like a brand new thing that we don't know anything about. I don't know. The support for Final Fantasy VII Remake would be, back months ago, they've been asked about, hey, where's the project? And their whole thing was like, we're not talking about this game until Kingdom Hearts 3 is out. Well, Kingdom Hearts 3 is out. So could make sense for them to go back to Final Fantasy VII and release that first part of it this year. Who knows? And then they also, as part of the like revenue projections, they had a big spike in Q3, which is the winter time. So that's probably when this game will release. Is probably fair to say.
Oh, okay.
The next Call of Duty will have a single player mode, which I'm sure is an effect of Black Ops 4 not meeting expectations. I mean, obviously, Call of Duty's been on a downward trend for several years, and the response to Black Ops 4 was positive by and large, but the sales weren't as, high as they would necessarily want, especially for it being Black Ops 4, which is kind of like the tentpole series inside of the Call of Duty series. They also said it's still going to have a traditional multiplayer mode. We'll have a new co-op mode. I'd imagine it's probably also going to have a battle royale mode because everything has a battle royale mode nowadays. I'm just kind of surprised that they're so quickly saying, oh, we're adding this back in. It just seems weird. But probably lends credence to the rumor that Black Ops 4 was going to have a single-player mode, and they canceled it because they weren't going to finish it in time.
Right.
So that could make sense that wasn't the idea from the get-go. Could make sense.
I'll buy it. If it has a single player and co-op, I will buy it.
if it is a new story and looks good, I would consider it. But it's also Infinity Ward's turn, so I'm not holding my breath on it being good. Platinum Games. So last episode we talked about, Grand Blue Fantasy Project got canceled, which was a bummer, but they've had a couple other new games be announced since then. But the director of Bayonetta 2 has left Platinum Games. The assumption was he was also directing Bayonetta 3, which is, if that's true, it's not great for Bayonetta 3.
Especially because we haven't heard anything about it since it was announced.
Yeah. So I don't know. It seems like a lot of changes happening at Platinum, and a lot of the changes not awesome, but they announced that whatever game at this Nintendo Direct, they still have other stuff coming down the pike. They have that Babylon's Fall game, so they're still working on stuff. It's just some transition seems to be happening at Platinum. THQ Nordic is continuing their crazy acquisition of mid-tier developers and game properties by acquiring the developers behind Kingdom Come Deliverance. No one knows what that studio was working on, or if it was like anything new, or if they were just continuing to support their game before moving on to the next project. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's just another kind of middle-tier acquisition of a B studio by THQ Nordic. They seem to be acquiring a lot of those types of studios. Not sure like what their play is.
Right, like are they gearing up for something big, or are they just like trying to play the market share a bit, or like what? Yeah, that's interesting. I know like Kingdom Come has like a niche following for sure.
It was a cool idea.
Kind of like a cult hit. Yeah. I was really interested in it, but then I also heard like some not so favorable things about what some of the project leads had come out and said publicly about certain issues. And so I kind of was like, well, maybe if it's like significantly on sale someday, I'll get it, because I want to play the game. And what a couple people say isn't representative of the team as a whole necessarily. So I would put that on the back burner, but it's just never been on sale like low enough. Because it's a $60 game, and at most it's been on sale for like $48. And like if it's down to like 30, maybe I'll get it for 30, which might happen during like the summer sale this summer. I would dive into it then. But I know like they keep putting out DLC packs for it, like new quests and new mechanics and stuff. So like they're supporting that game past release in kind of a surprising way. So it must be doing well enough for them to continue the development of that, which is probably why THQ went ahead and picked them up.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, for me it was always more because I was interested in the game as well, just the concept of it. But it was more about like the reception and it being really buggy and maybe not like it was kind of unfinished when it launched. And that's what kind of like soured me on putting it out there. But agree, it not ever going on sale, at least significantly. I'm not going to spend $45 on a maybe I'll like this sort of game.
Right.
So yeah. The developers of Fury. The Game Bakers is the name of the studio. They have announced a new game called Haven. So this is notable because Fury was a really cool sort of like shoot 'em up boss kind of game, bullet hell sort of style with like a really fucking awesome soundtrack. So they put out a little trailer it's only like a minute long, just like a little teaser, and then they have some screenshots that show a little bit more of the gameplay. But this is like an adventure RPG, they described it as. So it's a pretty big departure from what they did before. Right. But the music in the trailer is still really kicking. So I'm hoping that the music is still a strong aspect of the game. Looks cool. They've said they've been working on it for 2 years. It's supposed to come out in 2020, so we still have a ways to wait. But it looks neat. If you want to check out the trailer, I will have a link in the show notes on ShayHatesEverything.com. Okay, moving into movies. Star Wars Episode 9. It's done filming. It's gonna be over. Yep.
Now the bulk of the work begins because as time goes on, they do less and less practical effects.
Right. Yeah, it comes out on December 20th. Who knows? I mean, J.J. Abrams came out because he was asked, like, hey, did the response to The Last Jedi change this movie at all? And he was basically like, no. It's the third movie in a trilogy, so we're still wrapping up this story, but it's still the Star Wars movie I wanted to make, which, like, that's kind of a non-answer, but I have far more faith in J.J. Abrams, obviously, than I do in Rian Johnson, so
yeah,
fine. Rian Johnson is still working on his Star Wars trilogy, which I'm hoping gets canceled, because I have to see it if it comes out, and boy howdy, do I not want to, but I'm a sucker, so I will. And then I'm sure I'm going to hate it, and people are going to get mad. It was funny, like, on, I saw this on IGN, where they posted about that filming had wrapped. And I just left what I thought was a relatively innocuous comment, just saying, like, I really hope this wraps up well and is good. Personally, I still feel like there hasn't been a great Star Wars film since Return of the Jedi. And boy, people were real mad at me. Most people agreed, but, like, the comments obviously are all people that are mad and, like, really misinterpreting what I said of, like, there have been plenty of good aspects to the recent ones. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't say there weren't. Like, I said there hasn't been a great Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi. I didn't say that every Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi has sucked, but it's just the internet, so people only see things in black and white, and it's really annoying. So anyway, that was frustrating.
Here's your bi-weekly reminder to remove yourself from all social media.
yeah.
Because I'm having a great time.
I know, man. Yeah. Okay, and then finally, I really only added this story because I figured, Kyle, you would have a funny response to it. A sequel to A Quiet Place is happening. It's coming out May 15th, 2020. John Krasinski's going to direct again. Emily Blunt's still starring. I'm pretty excited for it. How do you feel? Are you pumped for this?
A Quiet Place 2, Waterfall Edition.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, like, tonally, I have a feeling this movie will be significantly different than the first one. Because, like, they just figured out the weakness, like, exactly how to beat them.
It's a little more
so
action-y.
I feel like it's going to be more of an action movie.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That would take away a lot of what was so special about A Quiet Place.
Right, which begs the question, do we need to make a second one?
Well,
John Krasinski says yes.
I'm not saying you're doing this, but we don't know anything about this movie, so we can't, like, assume what it's going to be. Could it be more actiony and them taking it down? Yes. But could they find a creative way to keep the tension and the drama and the horror to it? Certainly. They could figure that out.
So do we know it's for sure called A Quiet Place 2?
No, he just posted the Instagram post. It just said part 2 coming.
Because maybe it's like an early days thing. Like it takes place before the first movie.
Interesting.
That would make more sense to me.
I'm not sure what that would be with Emily Blunt still in it, though.
Oh, she's still in it.
Yeah.
Oh, Emily Blunt starring. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah.
And he specifically said part 2, so I feel like it kind of has to be a sequel. But my point is, like, they could find a way that isn't dumb to keep the same vibe as the first one.
She got a baby in one arm and a shotgun in the other.
I would watch that.
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt was incredible in that movie. Absolutely incredible. So I would watch her again in this. Okay. Last thing.
Except when she stepped on that nail. She spends her whole life watching every step she takes. That's the whole thing. That's why they put sand on the ground. You have to watch where you step every step you take because you don't want to make noise. But she steps on that nail.
But wasn't there something happening where, like, she had to rush? I don't remember the context. But I feel like But I feel like there was something happening that might take her out of her normal mode of thinking.
It's fine. You can continue making excuses for the movie that the movie can't make for itself.
I was talking to Kelly about this. It's probably still my favorite movie I saw in 2018, which I did really like it, but I feel like says more about I didn't see enough movies and the overall quality of the movies I saw wasn't quite as high. Because, like, if A Quiet Place is my number one movie of 2018, it would have been like number 8 on my list in 2017. So it's hard to say, but I still did really love the movie. Clearly, okay. That was good. I feel like we got through that news quick.
Whew,
with
we
still
did.
good context. So let's do a hate of the week.
Shotgun wedding.
And then we'll call it an episode.
Hate of the week.
So this is just... I kind of had this realization that a lot of video games recently haven't been good. Like, they've been a bummer to me.
I know,
To
man.
me personally. I'm not saying overall, because plenty of people like plenty of different games. But, like, part of it is this whole movement of battle royales. Like, I'm just not interested. And so the games everyone's talking about, it was PUBG, and then it was Fortnite, now it's Apex Legends, Tetris 99. Like, I just am not interested in the games that are the biggest games. And so that's kind of like, it's a very personal, selfish thing, but, like, that's a little bit of a bummer. But bigger picture, like, if you look at a lot of the largest releases from the past 4, 5, 6 months, most of them either I have played and not enjoyed, or I specifically have not decided to play because they didn't look good and haven't been good. So, like, Kingdom Hearts 3, pretty good example of this. Red Dead Redemption 2, Fallout 76, Pokemon Let's Go, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, that's a lot of games I've played, big releases, and I haven't liked any of those. Obviously, it's a sliding scale.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey is fine, but it's not great. And so it was disappointing to me. So similarly with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I had somewhat lower expectations for, but it was still like, it was a big release that I didn't enjoy, and I played through it. So that's just like a bummer. And then there are all the games that, like, these are big releases that I was like, this looks like it's going to suck, and boy did it. Like Far Cry New Dawn. Granted, not suck might be an exaggeration, but the response to that game has been fairly tepid.
Yeah,
Crackdown
for sure.
3 seems like a hot, steaming pile of garbage.
Oh, man.
Which, to be fair, I always said it was going to be a hot, steaming pile of
yeah.
garbage. But it is. And then Anthem has been a complete mess. So, like, granted, I still want to play Metro Exodus. I'm hoping that I like it. But hearing from you, it doesn't hit on a lot of the best things you like about Metro. Like, it makes me a little nervous that I'm not going to love it as much as I obviously want to love it. And, like, we talked about this last episode. Like, looking at the upcoming releases are a bunch of games I'm not interested in. Like Devil May Cry 5, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Mortal Kombat. And then the games that I am interested in, Rage 2, Days Gone, maybe. Yoshi's Crafted World, maybe. Like, I'm not that psyched about any of those. So I don't know, dude. It just, it's a weird time for me with video games, and it just makes me nervous. Because I have not lost my passion for the hobby. It's just, I feel like the quality of games has not been that great in the last 6 months when it comes to AAA releases.
Yeah, I feel like they're... I don't know, like, innovation is a good thing in general, but it feels like we're stepping away from what you and I, as an industry, what you and I think. It feels like as an industry, we're stepping away from what, Shay, you and I view as a cohesive and rewarding gaming experience, and more towards quick hit, one-off, like, get your fix and go experiences. Like a battle royale, like phone game, like mobile tropey stuff. Like, that's where I feel like a lot of the money is in the industry. So that's where I feel like a lot of the industry is going.
Yes.
And they try to take lessons and elements of those experiences and inject them in the kinds of experiences that you and I like. And I think it's detrimental.
Yeah, I think it's two things. I agree with you. That is one thing. As the industry grows and expands and reaches new audiences and a more casual audience, because those are the people that matter. Like, there will always be smaller games for hardcore people. There will always be God of Wars that are, I know you didn't like it, but, like, generally, using that as an example, very high quality single player experiences for hashtag video gamers. But those aren't the people that cause you to sell 20 million copies.
Right.
You have to hit the casual market. And the casual market wants mobile games. They want battle royale games. And like you said, those are not games you and I are interested in. The second point, though, is the opposite of this, where they are releasing sequels or new games that are not innovative. Like Fallout 76, I wouldn't say is innovative. It is innovative for Fallout, but it's not, I don't think it's really doing anything that new, and it fails at it, much like Anthem. Anthem's not really doing anything new. It's doing Destiny again and failed at it like Destiny did. But the bigger thing is, like, look at a lot of the other games on this list. Kingdom Hearts 3, Crackdown 3, Pokemon Let's Go, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. None of those games are doing anything new. In fact, they are doing the same thing that has been played, either like in the case of Assassin's Creed, is played out, and we've gotten too much of it recently, or in the case of Crackdown or Kingdom Hearts, they're trying to tap into outdated gameplay mechanics that are not relevant anymore. Red Dead is kind of the exception on this list because obviously most people loved it and it has a great story and characters, but from a gameplay, that's more just like, that's Rockstar's style, and I just don't like their style, so that's not really applicable here. But a lot of these other games, like, it's one of those things. They are trying to chase the new hotness of style in games, or they're trying to ape classic gameplay mechanics that don't work anymore. And like, neither of those seems like a winning strategy to me, just from a high level. Like, why can't you iterate and innovate on modern gameplay mechanics? That's what the games that come out that do well are the games that do that.
Right.
Why aren't more games doing that? It seems weird. So we'll see how Rage 2 comes out, because that's kind of the only game in this first half of the year that I'm excited for. It seems like it could be doing some cool things with open world, with shooters, with its personality. So we'll see.
We just need Last of Us 2, because we know that game is going to be amazing.
Yeah, but that's feeling more and more like that's a PlayStation 5 launch game in fall of 2020. Unfortunately.
You make me sad.
Yeah. Or a game where, like, it crosses over.
Yeah.
Where it's at the tail end of PS4 and then a port comes to PS5 early on. Something like that. So, point being, I don't think we're going to get it this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to get it this year. All right. Before I wrap up, something we don't hate, and I don't hate weekends. Because even though, like, with the baby coming, with Kelly kind of, like, struggling, she's having back pain, like, just low energy and all that kind of stuff, like, I'm taking on a lot more responsibilities, running errands and cleaning and all that, cooking, all that kind of stuff. I have less of Shay time on the weekends. It still is nice to decompress. Because work is, like, there's just a lot going on. I'm still stressed and all of the babies, like, it's still nice to, like, sit down and do a podcast for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, so,
yeah.
Weekends are good.
I agree. I don't hate my high school theater kids most of the time.
You struggled with this one today. You struggled with a don't hate.
I struggled to find a don't hate.
Yeah.
Just things have been shitty. Like, I found out about the painting yesterday, The Ring, and, like, just, like, the show being very overwhelming right now. And then none of the games I've played I've been crazy about.
Right.
And then, like, Punisher's getting better, but, like, between, like, episodes 2 to 5, it was, like, kind of like, I don't know if I like where this is going, but it's getting better now.
Yeah, I think we're in some, like, I'm not, like, super psyched to sit down and watch Punisher, but, like, it's good, but, like, I'm not like, ooh, after we finish this, I gotta go watch more Punisher.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, just thinking about, because I want to go back to school, become an English teacher, and, like, trying to wrap my head around that stuff, and it's just hard to get all the information straight and, like, figure out how I'm going to be able to make that happen and still pay bills. And, like, just, I have too much shit going on at once right now. So it's hard to find a don't hate. But as usual, my don't hate is the theater kids, because they're just a good group of kids. Yesterday was a fucking really bad day, because we had crew from 10 to 3, and there was this big thing going on at the school with all these bands coming in and out. So there wasn't parking, and we had to get a truck in the loading dock to move stuff to another building. And that was such a mess trying to get that to happen and work with their, like, event coordinator people outside. And it just sucked. And then, like, the cabinets I'm trying to build for the costumes were not going right. And I couldn't find the right hinges. I finally found the right hinges. But, like, while I was there, I couldn't get them to work. And, like, the plywood kept splitting. at just the wrong times and like all this shit just like not going well. But my theater kids stuck through it. Nice. And they made stuff happen, and they're working hard on the show, and it motivates me to also continue to work hard and push myself. So
that's why the don't hate is important.
Yeah,
I'm real glad we added that, because it gets real easy for us to like focus on crapping on stuff, because that's kind of our vibe on the podcast, which is still fun. Like, we have fun with it. I feel like we do it in a funny way, but it can get like ugh. And I feel like it's important. I always want to end. We got to end on a positive note.
I know.
And just personally, like, hey, there are those days where it's tough to find a thing that you like, but you did it. And I feel like that's helpful.
Yes, it is helpful.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I could have put, I don't hate my wife, because I don't hate my wife. I'm mad she bought the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I don't hate her. She's my wife. I married her for a reason.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards will not be the rift that pushes us apart. But like, that's a cop-out answer. Like, of course I don't hate my wife. She's my wife.
Well, yeah, but it's always going to be something more specific. Like, I've had Kelly be my not hate, but it's because of something specific.
Right.
So, like, if she returns the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, maybe next episode she'll be your don't hate.
Yeah, maybe if she does something worthy of being a don't hate, he says while looking over at her, and she gives him a face that says, "You're on the couch tonight."
That's good.
No, so I got her that shitty ring, and then she got me all my favorite candy for Valentine's Day. So I've been eating Fun Dip like it's going out of style, man. Like 3 packets, put them in a bowl, and just with my tongue, just eat it with my tongue, and then I eat the sugar sticks afterwards. Dude, I'm not gonna have legs by the time I'm 40, because diabetes, here I come. It's so good. Fun Dip is the best.
It's too the best. Sour. It's tasty, but I can only have like a couple of dips.
No, man, it's tasty-licious. Good stuff.
Wouldn't be my choice, but I get it. Just don't eat 3 packets at once, because I don't want you to die.
I'm living my best life.
Feeling uncomfortable and gross all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But at least food tastes good.
That's right.
Well, all right. That's going to do it for this episode. Check out ShayHatesEverything.com for the show notes and some other written content. I am almost done with my 2018 Game of the Year stuff, and then I just got to write all of it. But my goal is to get it out by the end of the month. So check out ShayHatesEverything.com on February 28th. And if it's
last day of the
not there, send an email to info@ShayHatesEverything.com telling me that I suck at everything, and I'll read it on the next episode. That's
Careful
it.
what you wish for.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace out.